Organic farming is a technique which involves cultivation of plants and rearing of animals in natural ways. The process involves growing and nurturing crops without using synthetic-based fertilizers and pesticides. This week's Urban Farmer features Peter Kanyagia, one of the farmers who has embraced organic farming. Peter says he mainly practices organic farming because the kind of farming keeps chemicals out of the air and soil. He also adds that organic foods taste better than conventional foods.
My farm is located near Roaka Shopping Center, and the farm is called Joe's Redworm Farm. Joe's Redworm Farm, at Joe's Redworm Farm, here we do organic farming using composting worms. These composting worms are called redworms, and they eat organic waste from the farm and they convert it into very high valuable organic fertilizer. This fertilizer is in two forms. One in liquid form called vermiliquid, the other one is called vermicompost. There are several types of farming. One is non-organic farming, where farmers use non-organic fertilizers like DAP, CAN, and balanced fertilizers, 17-17-17. This is very different from organic farming, which means using natural compost or compost made from natural materials. We usually make compost from natural materials by composting any farm waste, like leftovers from the farm, like when you harvest the beans, when you harvest sukuma, when you harvest bananas, they are leftovers which you can compost. The first benefit is growing organic crops. You find that these days there are a lot of vegetables or crops which are grown using non-organic fertilizers, or they are grown using sewage along the sewage system. And these vegetables grown on sewage system is a health hazard because the water going there has a lot of metal, zinc, and things which are dangerous. So if you consume food which is not organically grown properly, you are consuming poison, or you are putting poison in your body. So the first benefit you get in organic farming is growing healthy food for your family. If you are a farmer doing commercial farming for your customers, and you are helping the nation to have a healthy nation.
Peter reveals that he learned about organic farming some 10 years ago in 2009 when he was trying to provide better farming solutions for his clients.
I think most of us were born by peasant farmers, and it is in our blood. A lot of us were not born in town. We were born in farms, in villages, where as children, our parents trained us, working with your hands is very important, especially in farming. So you find a lot of farmers, it's not by default, it's that they were born farmers, and that's why they continue doing farming. Life. And I happened to read about organic farming about 15 years ago, but I started vermicomposting about 10 years ago. So I've been doing it for a long time and have a lot of experience. I train farmers who come here to learn about vermicomposting. They come to learn about planting, kitchen gardens, and a way of more healthier farming.
Joe's Redworm Farms uses earthworms to make compost. The process of using earthworms to make compost is called vermicomposting.
We use earthworms to compost this waste. We keep these earthworms in containers where we feed them with organic waste like weeds, leftovers from the farm. We can also use manure from livestock like cows, like rabbits, goats, and also pigs. So we add value of this waste by feeding them to the earthworms, which in turn convert the waste and convert it into a very high valuable vermicompost and vermiliquid.
Special earthworms called red wigglers or African night crawlers are used in the composting process. Earthworms, as Peter explains, enrich the soil by speeding up decomposition of organic matter. As earthworms eat and digest plant material, they mix organic and mineral soil particles. The organic matter is enriched and then passed out of the worm's body in the form of casts, which are the richest and finest quality of humus.
Red worms are kept in containers. You can use blue plastic drums. You can use concrete beds. You can use wooden beds to keep your worms, but you must have a container where you will be able to harvest the vermiliquid. Now, that is where you put the waste inside, and after when the worms eat the waste, they produce these two types of fertilizers.
To learn more about vermicompost and vermiliquid, Peter took us round his small illustration farm where he has also put up various kinds of urban farms.
This is one of our small demonstration farm where we demonstrate to our customers who comes to buy the earthworms how they can use the vermicompost and the vermiliquid to plant their vegetables. This demonstration plant is divided in beds. These beds are about 4 feet wide. You can see where we have planted strawberries. Then there is a path in between the beds. The use of this path is for a person who is working on the farm not to step on the bed, so that you can work from the side. And if you are planting, you can plant on the bed. If you are weeding, you can weed from the side. Here we have planted several types of vegetables. To start with, we have these crying beans. We also have this nursery for spinach. And we can go along and see what else we have. Here, on this bed, you can see we have planted strawberries. These are strawberries. They have not started fruiting, but they will fruit in another 1 week or two. They are going to fruit in the next 1 week or two, but you can see the flowers. Here we have planted capsicum. This capsicum has not started fruiting. This is another crop here. You can continue. Here you can see we have planted a passion fruit. This fruit has started bearing fruits, as you can see. The way we do passion fruit is that you have actually to lead it so that it can go along to enable it to be able to produce fruits properly. That's why we have put this this wire here, so that the fruit can actually continue climbing on the wire. Here are more strawberries. You can see this one is planted in a container. This is a container. The use of this container is to contain moisture inside, and you need very little water for it to grow. We have also planted onions in these beds. The use of these onions actually is to stop pests coming inside the strawberries.
When it comes to the proper preparation of a seedbed, Peter explains that it is important to create space for the walking path in order to avoid interference of the seedlings during operations in the seedbed, such as weeding.
I'm going to show you two types of beds where you can plant your vegetables or plant. In the first bed here, where we have planted this spinach, we'll be watering here with a can. Secondly, this bed does not have a shade net on top. Where now I can explain the difference between the first bed and the second bed. This second bed is very different from the first bed because of several features. The first feature is that the whole bed is contained inside a framework of timber, 2 by 1 inch, 6 inches timber, which surround the whole bed to contain the soil inside and to make it more beautiful. That is one feature. The second feature, we are going to use a drip system where whatever we plant, we will be using a drip to water the plant. Thirdly, this bed has a shade net to protect all the plants planted here from the hot sun, which means this bed can be more productive than the first bed. The problem with the second bed, it can be a bit more expensive. Some people might be able to afford, others might not be able to afford. A bed is done in such a way that it is raised for about 6 inches here. It is raised to stop any flooding of water. If it rains and there is flood here, this will not be affected as it is slightly high. Secondly, you can see it's not very wide. It's actually 3 to 4 feet. This one is 3 feet on top. And we have planted these strawberries here so that one can work from any side. If I want to weed, I can weed from this side. I will not step inside here. So I can weed on this side here. Then after finishing this line, I'll go around and weed on the other side. So there is no time I will ever step inside here. Stepping here means you are making the soil harder and the plants will not be able to grow. This is a new bed which is about 4 feet wide and 15 feet length. On this bed, we are going to fertilize the whole of this bed with organic fertilizer of organic compost from our redworms. We are going to plant 4 lines of spinach on this bed. And each line will be divided 1 foot from the other one. Those are 4 lines. Then when we come to planting, we are going to space every plant here 1 foot. We are going to put manure here, and here, and here, and this is where we are going to plant the spinach.
And just like any other type of farming, Peter explains he first spreads the vermicompost manure onto the farming land before transplanting the seedlings onto the farmland.
I'm going to demonstrate here how we plant in a bed using the vermicompost. We have divided this bed in 4 lines, and we plant this these vegetables, we space them 1 feet. We are now going to put vermicompost here, which we have removed from our beds where we have the worms. When you put compost, you must water before you plant. And we are going to water our holes. I can water again. These goat droppings, which were found in the vermicompost, they have not yet been composted. So after putting the water, we plant our seedlings. You see, this seedling has a long root. We make sure that the root goes direct inside. And we space 1 foot. You can see this is 1 foot. This is another 1 foot of spacing from here to here. This is the second line. After planting our spinach in lines and spacing it after every foot, we are going to water it again. And this time, we are going to add our vermiliquid to the water which we are going to water, so that we can add more fertilizers on this plant. This vermiliquid helps in fertilizing the plant, and also it's also a pesticide, so that pests do not eat the plant. Now, this is a very powerful vermiliquid, and we have to mix it with water. We have finished watering these plants.
Peter also showed us how to grow strawberries on a small piece of land. Here, he revealed to us that the main secret when it comes to strawberry farming is to intercrop it with onions so as to chase away pests that normally affect the crop.
Here we have a different type of bed. You can this is a raised bed, and surrounded by, there's a timber framework all around to hold the soil inside. So the difference between our first bed and this one is that there is a frame here to hold all the soil and the compost inside. Secondly, it has a drip system where we are going to use a drip to plant our plants here. Thirdly, it has a net, a shade net here, to protect the plants here when there is a lot of sun. So this one is very different from our first bed because of all those issues. This bed, we are going specifically to plant herbs and strawberries. We are going to plant rosemary, herbs, and onions, and strawberries. And I can show you how we are going to plant. This is a drip system. This is one line. The distance between one line and the other line is 1 foot. The distance between one drip and the other drip is 15 centimeters, or roughly half a foot. This is one hole there, and you can see the water going down there. another hole here, and the water going inside inside the hole. This is another one. Here you can see the water coming in, dropping. This bed we have spread compost inside, so that when we start planting, the plants will eat from the compost already inside the soil. And what is left is only to plant our herbs. This, as we said, is a special bed where we have different features. We have already prepared the soil with a lot of compost inside. This compost is from the earthworms or the vermicompost, which is going to help the plant to grow better. The bed has also got a drip system where we are going to drip the plants with water and also with the vermiliquid in the bed. You can see it's a very healthy plant, and we can proceed in planting it. We are going to plant it in a drip where next to the drip where the water is dripping. Now this is where we are having the water dripping. We are going to plant it there. Now we are going to plant herbs and strawberries in this bed. And because we also want to plant onions in between the plants, as the onions will help in pests not coming inside the bed. It's going to discourage pests eating our plants. So we can proceed and see where the drip has already watered the hole. We are going to use 2 lines. We are going to use this line for strawberries. This is a strawberry plant. It is already rooted, and we are going to plant it now in the bed. You can see it's a very healthy plant, and we can proceed in planting it. We are going to plant it in a drip where next to the drip where the water is dripping. Now this is where we are having the water dripping. We are going to plant another strawberry, but in between the strawberries we are going to plant an onion. This onion will be to discourage pests coming to our strawberry. And there is the onion. Then we continue and plant another strawberry here. Let's continue so that we can see better. This is an onion in between the strawberries, and this is the strawberry plant. You can see now every plant has a drip and the water, and actually you need very little water for this. Drip for about 15 minutes is enough to water this bed. So that line is for strawberries. Let's come now to herbs. These are rosemary seedlings, which we are going to plant 1 line in this bed. And at the same time, we are going to divide each plant with an onion in between. Let's now plant these herbs inside the bed. This is a drip hole. We are going to plant there. And in the next hole, we are going to plant an onion. As we have said, this onion will be to deter any pests. We can continue planting our rosemary. That's another rosemary plant, divided by an onion. And there is our second line. And we are going to fill the whole of this bed with strawberries and with herbs. And in another 2 months, we should be able to harvest our strawberries, our onions, and our herbs. Each and every feature of this bed has its own use. There are some places which are very hot, that if you plant without a shade, the plant will not grow well because of the sun. So this net is very useful in very hot places. These places are like dry areas like Ukambani, parts of Nairobi, and the coastal areas. You can also use it in other parts to reduce the sunshine when you have planted some plants which are very sensitive to light, like strawberries, herbs, and capsicums, so that you protect them from the heat. Now, the second feature we pointed out is these timbers to enclose the bed. This is really not necessary, but it can beautify a bed and also contain the soil inside the area so that it doesn't come out. And actually, you can see it is smarter and makes it very different from this side. You can plant, if it is 15 feet like this one, and the spacing is 6 inches or 15 centimeters, you can plant 15 times, you can plant 30 plants on this line. But there are some plants which actually need more space than others. If you have plants which need a bigger space, you use a drip which has a bigger spacing. The one we have is for 15 centimeters. You can get a drip for 30 centimeters or 1 foot. You can get a drip for 2 feet, depending on the plant you want to plant. So this one line has 15. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 15, you can have 75 plants in this mob bed, which are a lot of plants. This is a very simple drip system. This water is coming from the main tank, from the main house. And from there it comes through this pipe and it goes inside. It goes inside a 20-liter bottle at the end, where from there it goes down through pipes to the drip system, and you can see where it has actually dripped. It is very different from the dry areas. 10-15 minutes of dripping each plant is enough for the plant.
We've just been taken through the various kinds of urban farming methods. We've seen the vertical kind of farming, as well as the various seed beds. After the break, we now get to learn how to make compost from earthworms.
There are very many ways of planting a plant, depending on where you are and also depending on what you have. You might be living in a very small compound where there is no soil, and you want to plant crops. You can use buckets like the ones we have here. You can use these containers. All you need is to get soil from somewhere, put them in the containers, and you plant your crops. So this other system is very good for urban farming. These bottles are for irrigating the plant. That bottle has a pipe which goes inside the plant, and all you need is to put water in the bottle, and that bottle can last 3 or 4 days watering that plant. Which means every week you fill that bottle is 2 liters, you fill it with the 2 liters of water. That will be enough to water that plant for the next 1 whole week. Basically, we use the vermicompost as a base when we are planting the plant, so that the plant can have a healthy rooting system. So once we have planted with the vermicompost, what we will be doing is using the vermiliquid as a foliar to grow the crop. You can be spraying the plant or using it as in a drip every 2 to 3 weeks, so that your plant can have a continuous nutrient intake system, and your plant is going to grow far faster than any other crop not using the vermicompost or the vermiliquid.